Wonderful. Hi, Hazel. How are you?
Hello, Guy. I'm good. How are you?
Listen, congratulations on the movie. It's very scary, but also it explores a psychological relation between mother and daughter. Was that something that attracted you about You're Not My Mother?
Yeah, I think so. Uh, yeah, I think having three central characters all being of, um, you know, they're all female and they're all intergenerational. They're like grandmother, mother, daughter, and the bond that these three people share and how tricky it is, and the nuances that go on there were very interesting to me when I read the script, and figuring out the relationships and the intricacies of those relationships, plus the intricacies of her relationship with her uncle. All of those things were very interesting, and it's a film about women, so yeah.
It's true, as you mentioned, three generations of women, and it's inspired by Irish folk tales, right? I think, and superstition and things like that. Could you comment on that?
Very much so. Yeah, Kate had been told folk stories from when she was very young by her grandmother herself, and so I think that kind of lived in her from when she was quite young, and she wanted to definitely weave that into any kind of story she was making for a feature film, and it fused very well with the horror film that she was making, and the elements of drama that go into it and the elements of folklore, I just think mesh perfectly. And yeah, I don't want to speak for Kate, but I know she said that in a couple of interviews, and I knew that from her from when we started shooting. We had conversations about that. So,
Hazel, a Char goes through a kind of like a nightmare. I mean, having to deal with a parent who go through all those problems. Could you mention that? It's like a young adult taking care of the mother, which should be the other way around, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we see that. We see Char tiptoeing around her house at points, which is very sad, and it's very real. Kids have to do that sometimes when they don't want to disturb their parents and they don't want to get into a fight with them or stir things up. They have to pretend that they're asleep, and they have to go to their room really quietly, otherwise they'll be called. And yeah, that first scene, I think, where Char wakes up late for school, she asks her mom for a lift. She very reluctantly asks her mom for a lift, and then immediately when there's like a bit of an iffy response, she says, "Oh no, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I'll just walk. Don't worry." When she's had that out with the granny, firstly, is very interesting. The difference and dynamic between her and the granny and her own mother. It's nearly like switched around. She kind of nags on her granny more than she does on her mother.
Would you say that the film explores mental illness as well?
Definitely, yeah. I know Kate was very adamant she didn't want. She was shooting this film as a point of view from a young kid in a family who was scared of their mom, because of how you are as a child and how scary it is not to have a stable parental figure in your life. And she didn't want to demonize anybody or make them look like a monster because they had a mental illness, and that wasn't what she was going for. And I think she executed it very well, to be honest. That these are visions from Char, and this, like, she might not have even been as scary looking as we see in the film. This is all shot from Char's perspective. Char is in every scene nearly, and some things could even be, you mentioned a nightmare, some things could even be nightmare, like connected to dreams more than to reality in the film, if you want to perceive it that way. Yeah.
How satisfying was it for you to be part of this production, considering that you have a great role and very rich and layered?
Yes. From when I read the script first, I immediately knew it was one that I wanted. I could not put it down. I literally couldn't put the script down, and I read it immediately afterwards as well. I went back to the start and started note-taking everything that I had thought at every point of change in the scene, or every point of change in the script. So to get to shoot that film, however long it was, 6 months after the first reading of the script, was crazy, because usually you don't, especially when a film is in production and pre-production, you don't get to shoot it that quickly. It takes years for these films to get off the ground. And so for things to be so fresh in my mind 6 months later, and I've got all this background and it's so rich, the script is so rich, there's so much to dive into. It was very satisfying to be able to connect with that, to reconnect with that, and to experience that with the whole crew. It was so good.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Have a great day. Take care. Great evening. You're in Dublin, or?
I am in Cork, and there's a glare on the door right there, so apologies, but I'm in Cork for the weekend with my family. Yeah, we're going to.
Wonderful. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, Chelsea.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.